Hey guys, it's Justin. Decided to do something different with the channel today. We're going to do a real quick tutorial in Java. I had one of my friends quickly ask a question on how to build a Java console app, and it had specific requirements because it's for a class they're working on, and they need a little bit of help with it. Without further ado, go ahead and get started. So the way the question is written, it says, create a Java console program that prompts a user to enter a number. The program uses the input value to calculate and list the products of two numbers up to the entered numbers. For instance, if a user enters 3, the program calculates the product between two numbers, 1 times 1, 1 times 2, 1 times 3, 2 times 1, 2 times 2, etc. So basically, it's making a two-dimensional array that first displays numbers 1 through 3 because we entered 3, and then it's going to list numbers down the left hand side 1 through 3 because we entered 3, but then the columns and rows are going to be filled with the product of. So you're going to go 1 times 1, so basically row X and Y, 1 times 1 would be 1, then you go over to the next number, which is going to be 2, so 2 times 1, and I'll show a picture of this question so you can kind of see it and what's being laid out. So let's go ahead and jump into Netbeans. If you haven't used Netbeans before, you can find it at netbeans.com, I believe, or just do a Google search for it and you'll come across it. We're going to go ahead and hit new project. We want a Java application, and we can just name this whatever. So we'll call it whatever. If I can spell ever. There we go. And let's go ahead and hit finish, accept the defaults. And we'll just wait for this project to build. Shouldn't take too long. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of some of these comments because they're not important to me. Leave that. Leave that. We'll put our logic here, and that's our to-do. So in order to do this, we need to take input from the user. So the way I'm going to be doing it is I'm going to create a scanner that's going to read the input. So to do that, we're going to put scanner, and we're just going to call this reader equals new scanner, and parentheses. Make sure you put the semicolon. It's going to be system.in. So what that's doing is it's telling the system that we want to accept user input and we're going to assign it to this variable called reader. Now you see the red squiggly line under it. That's perfectly normal. We just highlight it, hit enter. I'm going to give it some temps. Well, the scanner is part of the Java class utility scanner, so we need to import that so it knows what we're looking for. Perfect, that works. Let's just add a comment. And this is to create a scanner to read user input. Right. And we're going to create a program loop because the way this program is supposed to work, it's either going to be, it also said in there, I didn't read the full question, but you probably saw it on there. It says to use, it's going to continue to program over and over again until the user hits Q to quit. So I'm going to make a while loop to be the loop for the program. So I'm just going to call this program loop. And we'll do a while true. And I haven't used this IDE. I'm normally in Visual Studio, so forgive me a little bit if I don't know all the shortcuts, but we'll make it work. All right, so while true, what do we want to happen while it's true? Well, we need to take that user input, create an array, and multiply the variables, right? All right, so next we're going to prompt the user to input something, and we need to tell the user what we want inputted. So we're going to use system.out.print language. I'm not real familiar with Java. I'm doing this kind of an example, and I haven't done Java in a while. It's been quite a while, actually. I mostly do Android apps now, which is a form of Java, but it's a little bit different than what we're doing here. So hopefully this makes sense to you, and I'll try to explain everything best I can. So system.out.print is basically going to print something to the screen in this console app. So what do we want to tell them? We want to tell them to enter a positive number. You don't have to do all caps, it's however you want to do it. So do this, and we'll do have space. The reason I'm hitting the space there is because I want to have a little bit of space in between what they actually input and my question. So now that we get that out there, we want to store that information into an integer. It's going to be int for short, which is the word that the Java uses. And we're going to call this, let's call it user input. I like to do camel case because the different languages I use, most of them just use camel case. And I think that's technically what you're supposed to do in Java, so that's what I'm going to do. And we're going to have to do the reader, because the reader is where we stored all the information that the user's putting in. We'll do reader dot next, next, come on, give me my help. Next int, because it's an integer. We can just close that. So what this is, it's storing the user input. I don't know if I spelled that right. All right, so next we got to make that array. So we're going to make an integer array, and we're going to call it ARR for short. So that's abbreviation for array in my book today. So integer, I've already kind of did this. I'm just kind of glancing at it, make sure I type everything right. R equals new. We want to make a new integer, and we want to accept the on one side of the column, and on the other side we want to take the input as well. You can close that with that. Oops, close it with that. There we go. Semicolon. Don't forget your semicolon. What did I do wrong there? Not spell integer right. Yep, I had an extra R. Alright, so that's how we spell. You're probably looking at it a long time ago and was like, you didn't spell integer right, dude. So this creates an array to store and multiply user input. So one thing, if you're doing a lot of coding, make sure you go back and comment everything. A week from now, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, a year later, you come back to make an update or do something new, you won't remember what in the world you did. All right, in order to build this array, we're going to do a for loop. So let's go ahead and hit for, open our little parenthesis guy here. We'll do int I, because this is going to be our counter, equals 0. And then if I is less than user input, because user input is a number that we were given from the user. What do we got to do next? Oh yeah, we got to tell what to do, I plus plus. So what this is saying, that every time we look at I, if the inputted user's number is greater than I, we're going to keep this loop going. So it builds this array for us. So inside this array, we're going to have to do another for loop to build the other side of the array. So let's do another for loop. It's going to be int. Let's go up the alphabet here. J is equal to 0. And if j is less than user input, we want to increase j by 1. J plus plus and I plus plus, that's a shorthand for doing I equals I plus I. That makes it's real quick. It's pretty simple. Just know that if it has 2 plus signs, you can do that with 2 plus signs, 2 minus signs. Multiplication signs, I think you can do it, but I've never done it because I never wanted to multiply anything by myself or by itself, but you kind of get the picture there. So we got this second loop to do. Now we need to do is put these numbers inside this array. So we're going to go R, which is the name of our array, and we want the top column to be I and the bottom column to be j. And then we're going to set that equal to the product of I plus 1 times j plus 1, and put our semicolon, because semicolons are important. And then we need to print it out to the screen, so we're going to do system.out.print. Keep on wanting to do capital letters because the language I'm used to does capital letters. We need to print this array, so 8. Ooh, why am I putting that? Don't put the quotes. I put the quotes. That was next. We need to print this array I, array j. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add a tab. So we do need those quotations now. So a tab is basically that button, and I'm pretty sure that's a tab. We'll find out in a minute. Yeah, need to capitalize system. Anyway, so that builds the array and prints it out to the screen. Say print array to screen. Creates, you put a comment in Java is 2 slashes, so creates array from user input. Alright, so where are we at? That is for the 4, that's for the other 4, and now we're back inside our while loop. So now that we're printing out the array on the screen, we're going to need to print out a line break so that way it goes to the next line for the next numbers. So if we do system.print, no, system.out.print line, because we're printing a whole line here today. Open your little parentheses and make a new line in almost any language. It's just \n, which creates a new line. Make sure you remember your semicolon. All right, so that's out the picture. Let's go back. Are we inside the while loop? This is still inside the while loop. Wow, I can talk today. We're going to prompt the user to continue or quit because this is still part of the project. If you right here, we need to ask the question. So system.out.print, and the question is, how are we going to word this? Enter Q to quit or any other letter to continue. And again, we're going to do the colon, or yeah, we're going to do the colon and the space. Now we need to store the input so we know if Q has been pressed or not. So we're going to write stores user input and checks if Q is what was pressed. So this next step is to see if Q has been pressed. If it has, we're going to just shut the program down, exit out of it, and that's all. If not, the while loop's still going to remain true, so the while loop's going to keep going. We're going to pop back up to the beginning of the while loop, which is asking you to enter a positive. So let's go ahead and do that. We need to store this input, so string Q is equal to, or no, is equal reader.next, and that's all I need. That. So what we're doing is we're bringing a string in. The string is going to be stored in a variable Q, and we're basically describing the next thing that the user types in. We're storing the input that the user is about to type in from that last question to a variable called Q, because why not name it Q, because that's what you're looking for. All right, now that we got the user's input, if they want it to quit or continue, stored into this variable called Q, we're going to create an if statement to check to see if Q is pressed. So if you do if, open your little parentheses, close them, open your little bracket doohickeys, close them, and then we need to type in the check. So we're going to say Q dot equals, and we want to ignore the case, and we want to see if it's equal to Q. So the reason we're ignoring the case is because we don't care if it's capital Q or lowercase q. We just want to know if Q's been pressed. And to simply put it, if Q's been pressed, we want to exit the program. And to do that, you simply type in system.exit, and you pass in 0 to this right there. Close your little, put your little thingy called, put your little doohickey there. Having a brain fart. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm doing this tutorial, so hope it's easy. Follow along with, and I'm making more sense than I am in my head right now. Go ahead and run this. It should work. We've done all the lines of code. It's asking us to enter a positive integer or number or whatever you want to call it. We'll call it number 2. Now it gives us this array. It says 1, 2, then 2 and 4 because 2 times 2 is 4. And then let's do a bigger number. Oops, we got to continue. See if we continue. We'll do 4. There we go. We got multiples 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we got 1, 2, 3, 4 down the side, and you kind of see how it multiplies across the table. And we can go ahead and hit Q. That exits the program, and now the program's quit. We don't have it no more. All right, guys, this concludes this tutorial. We were able to create a 2-dimensional array that is the product of each number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it multiplies across. We did that by collecting the scanner imprint by collecting the user input through a scanner, and then we got the scanner class by importing the package from Java, which is shown up here. Import utility or java.util.scanner, and then we made the array, printed out our questions by using out print, and that wraps it up. It was pretty simple, not much to it. this would be the confusing part to me, making this array and trying to figure out how to get it to print out like that. That's what I had the most trouble with when I did this the first time. But after playing around with it for a little bit, it started working. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section, shoot me a message. All my social media is listed below. If this video helped you in any way, make sure you give it a big old thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.